That's right, I am back with another cycling video, and this is another one of those hybrid videos where it's a one of my more classic ones, like a time-lapse, but it's got a commentary because it's a long one. I think I'm over doing the whole musical time-lapses, so here we are. This is me and my riding buddy Dom, who's been in these videos before, doing the Cornish Alpine challenge, and as you can see we went the wrong way straight away, so it was a good start. This was something I did last weekend, at least for me recording this. I don't know when I'm going to publish this, but I did it last weekend. It was super fun. It was basically 25 miles of grueling mountain biking in the Cornish Alps, which is basically all the clay tips just north of St Austell. If you guys know the area of Cornwall at all, beautiful area by the way. St Austell, I'm really sorry if you live in St Austell. I know at least one of you might, because I have a Patreon member whose address is in St Austell. Don't want to leak anything further, but that was, so maybe I've just offended at least one person in this audience, but regardless, it's not that great. It's got a really nice brewery. I highly recommend the brewery, but it's in a nice location in terms of what's around St Austell. Oh, went the wrong way again just then, which is really, really nice, like hills and moors and beaches, because it's Cornwall. It's great, and this is a little tour of that, really. All of the trails are just north of St Austell. So the ride started with this absolutely savage hill. Like, it was awful. I was literally, I don't know if anyone in this audience cycles maybe, but I was literally dying up this hill. I was like, oh my god, we're only like 3 miles in. Oh, by the way, for like non-Americans, 25 miles is about 40. It was actually just over 25 miles. I think the whole race on my Strava was like just under 45k. So that's kind of the unit of measure we're dealing with. I had to, like, when I saw it was 25 miles, I had to go into like Google and translate that into metric, because and since I've ever started using Strava, I do all my distances in kilometers. I don't know, this is way past the point now, but we went the wrong way again just there. So yeah, it's 25 miles / 45-ish kilometers of grueling climbing in the Cornish Alps. Now, 45k on road, like I would consider a long ride on a road bike to be, I don't know, between 70 and 100 kilometers maybe. I'd say that's a long ride. Mountain biking though, those benchmarks are scaled back quite a bit. I'd say 30 kilometers would be when a mountain bike ride officially becomes a long mountain bike ride, just because of the extra sort of energy required. You have really chunky tires. You can sort of see my front tire on this bike here. This is a Ribble Hardtail 29er. I think that's its name. It's the only 29er that Ribble cycles make. But it's got, you can see that size of that tire there. It's a 2.5 inch tire. It's huge. The one on the rear is not that much smaller. It's only 2.4 inches. It's beefy boy basically, and you know, they don't have particularly fast gearing. They're just built to climb things basically, and the ground itself is not fast rolling tarmac. It's slippery, gritty dirt. Admittedly, at this specific part in the video, it's not too bad, but in the latter half of the race, we're talking things like soft sand, clay, mud. It was really grueling. I mean, I went into this thinking, oh, it's only like 45k. I do that all the time, and it's not even like any effort whatsoever. Like, my commute to and from work is often about 45 kilometers of cycling, but obviously that's on tarmac. Granted, it's on a hardtail that I've sort of turned into a commuting bike, so I put slicker tires on it, but they are still mountain bike tires. They're the Maxxis Ardent Races, for anyone that's curious. So yeah, here we are having a little water break, toilet stop, and then we set off on our way again. I haven't talked about any aspect of this race whatsoever. I like just talking into this microphone. This is actually a bit of a novelty for me, because, and I'm going to make some like proper Kerbal Space Program update video on this, but you know, for brevity's sake, and because I want to talk about this now, because I've just finished it, and I'm in a state of euphoria, and I just want to declare it to the world that my PC issues, I think, are fixed. So basically, my PC died, and it died in spectacular fashion. Do you guys remember that real-time MUN mission that I did? If you don't, go on my main channel and look, it's like one of my more recent Kerbal Space Program uploads, or just, I don't know, search Matt Lown real-time MUN mission. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. The real-time MUN mission, if you watch that stream VOD, it starts with me saying, guys, I'm having a blue screen of death issue, and I don't know what's going on, I don't know what's happening, we can't fix it. And I was like, but it seems to have fixed itself. Anyway, it did fix itself. And then about 3 weeks later, so kind of almost to present day, it all started happening again. The computer kept blue screening. It was the weird uncorrectable error, I think was the code, Well, look, we had to let some cows cross. Just briefly talking about the commentary for once. And it was a nightmare. I tried literally everything. I replaced the GPU. I replaced all of the RAM. I replaced the PSU. Through great difficulty, running another PSU cables like around the case because my current it was a different brand, so the cables weren't interchangeable. It was a nightmare, and nothing worked. So then we tried a new SSD with a new install of Windows. That didn't work. So I'm like, right, enough. I haven't got time to be dealing with this forever. I need this PC like for work. Like YouTube, it's not my main job, but it is a job nonetheless. I need this. Like I've got a contract with sponsors, and I need to be able to produce videos. So I said, I'm just going to bite the bullet, buy a new PC, and then now fast forward to today. It is built. I'm now once again for the first time in like 3 weeks follow me on Instagram, guys. I for the first time sat at my desk in my office again, recording a commentary on a computer that belongs to me, and life is good. It's very big, this case. Like I liked my old PC because it was like suspiciously that's not the it was deceptively powerful. It was a mid-tower case, but quite a small one, but it was packing a heck of a lot of PC in there. We're talking like 20 terabytes of hard disk storage. It had 5 terabytes of SSD storage, 64 gigs of RAM, and it was a lot of computer packed into a tiny case, and I really liked that. But it was a nightmare to build, and anytime anything needed maintaining, it was awful, because I was like, oh, it's just, you open the side panel, which is like bursting at the seams anyway. Oh, look at that view, by the way. You can see the tallest point of Cornwall from this point. Yeah, it was bursting at the seams. It was not fun. So I'm like, I'm just going to get a full tower, because although the mid tower was fun, I'm just going to get a gigantic case now, because I just want the computer to work. Like, I was 19 and then 20 at one point in my life, and I always wanted a really powerful PC. Like Total Biscuit, may he rest in peace, was I wanted a PC like him, with his full custom water-cooled loop. And I looked at people like Linus as well, who had similarly amazing setups. And now I'm at this point in my life where I'm like, I don't want any of that. I just want something that will work and just never stop working. So I have just a regular air-cooled GPU. I have, admittedly, a water-cooled CPU, but it's an AIO, which are like pretty resilient these days. And that's it. No bells and whistles. I just want something to work. Maximum airflow going through this case. It's an airflow case. It's an airflow case. It's the Corsair 7000D. I think it's a good case anyway. I haven't talked about this video at all. Oh my goodness. This was a horrible climb, by the way. This was like literally, it was savage. This is like a 300 meter of elevation climb. I don't know what that is in feet for Americans. You can just Google it. You can just Google it. If you've got an Amazon there, right there. Hey, Alexa, play Ocean Man by Ween. How many of you have I just trolled? Anyway, while you're telling Alexa to turn that off, you can ask Alexa what 300 meters is in feet. There you go. Yeah, got a bit gnarly just here. Actually, I had to wheel my bike up through this, but it was so like squishy mud and like brambles. But look how high we are. Like, it's really hard to appreciate the elevation changes in this time lapse, but we started at sea level, well, very close to sea level, and now we're obviously up in the mountains, right? It was a really, really grueling climb, just because, again, it's mountain bike on mountain bike, like off-road terrain. It's pretty grueling. It wouldn't be anywhere near as bad on a road bike or a gravel bike on tarmac, but it wasn't. It was this. But, flip side of that, the descents, oh my goodness. They were so fun, not only because they were just fun, because they were big, long descents that went on for ages over fairly fun terrain, but also because we'd earned it. We'd spent like an hour just suffering to the top of this hill. Gosh darn it, I'm going to enjoy this descent. This is really fun. It was really fun to be back on the Hardtail. I've missed this beast, and it has been a bit neglected, you know, ever since I got my full suspension. I haven't really ridden this Hardtail because there's really been a need to. But for cross-country, XC, if you will, Hardtails, you know, okay, yes, you can get full suspension XC bikes, but I'm not going to spend, you know, stupid money on a bike I'm going to use like once a year. I'm just going to use a bike I already have in my arsenal. And Hardtails, you know, they come pretty close to the full suspension cross-country bikes. It's not a perfect setup. Like I said, it's got 2.5-inch tyre on the front, 2.4-inch tyre on the back. It's a bit big for a cross-country race, but it's still okay. Here you can see this was horrible. Dom was getting miles ahead of me because he's wearing gloves and he's not allergic to all things natural like I am. I have terrible seasonal allergies, so I was really suffering through this bit. My hands were getting scratched and stung, and it just wasn't very fun. It was very overgrown, that part of the trail. Maybe I should just talk about this footage for a bit. we are on the latter part of the race, admittedly. I've waffled on about absolutely nothing for this entire video, but I hope at least the footage can speak for itself. Here I am crossing a bridge. Dom decided to go forward away through the river that bridge crossed. I got absolutely soaked. It was really funny to me and the 2 people that were kind of following us at that moment. And yeah, it was a really fun race. You know, it's something I'd recommend. You know, if you're getting into cycling, honestly, these like races for like the like obviously don't go to like the elite stuff, but these things that are like organized on Facebook, I think there's like 130 riders, I think, in this race. Like, it was fairly big, but not that big. It wasn't timed or anything. You just set up in groups and just do the course. Really, really fun, and it's a really nice way of like pushing yourself. At this point, you can see Dom's got really far ahead of me because my bike was making this horrible creaking sound. Like, it was terrible. I was like, like every single uphill, I started walking it up because it was really making a really loud creaking noise. I was trying to like on the flats, I was pedaling slowly, trying to diagnose what it was. And I think, there you go, a little helpful annotation there. I've managed to narrow it down to it being the seat post coming loose. Like, it's a dropper seat post, but the actual dropper itself was, I think, some grit was in it or something, and it was skidding about inside the seat post, and that was what was causing the squeak. It didn't fix it completely, but it did do something, and obviously I had to do the repair whilst the bike was covered in mud. So, gonna give it a clean. Well, I have given it a clean and refixed it, so hopefully that problem's not going to come back, but that was a thing that happened. Yeah, and another really fun descent on tarmac, and now another big grueling. I think this is like the last big climb of the race, of this tip. It doesn't look too bad. It looks like we're going on gravel, but it was really soft gravel. Like, these trails are not open to the public normally. Like, this race, they got permission, but normally this isn't open to the public. So there's no, like, it's not packed in any way, really. The only thing that packs it in is like the occasional maintenance vehicle or service vehicle or whatever that uses this trail, which is not very often. So yeah, bit of a savage climb, but here we are coming to the summit, and then we got the most fun descent of the entire race. I went the wrong way initially, and everyone followed me. I've got a Garmin. You can see on the handlebars, I still went the wrong way, but we course corrected, and now we're on the big descent. I don't know how well you can tell how. Oh, that was a fun rhyme, wasn't it? I don't know how well you can tell this descent's like gradient, but it was quite steep, really fun. Over like descending on a mountain bike, especially a hardtail, on like rough terrain, really, really fun. And then we're just plummeting down to sea level on the roads now. The car didn't let me out, so I had to wait for it to pass. And not much more to say. This is why I don't really talk about the footage directly, because I'm like, oh yeah, this is happening now, and then this is happening now, and then yeah, you guys can just see. And what doesn't help is I'm very warm. We're having a very warm spell in England right now, and I'm sitting in my chair with a wet towel on my back just to cool me down. I've got cold water. It ain't good. But anyway, this is the final climb to the end of the race, and there it is. We did it. 25 miles. I think Strava said I burned about 2,300 calories. It's great. And yeah, I've got my medal, and now I'm just going to go back